What is going on, Failroaders? I'm Joshua Thomas, and I'm here to give you my initial thoughts of Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. This is going to be spoiler-free, so I'm only going to show footage from early game or footage that is in the trailers. But before I get into that, I need to make a public service announcement. You see, I have started getting spoilers in comments on my theory crafting videos. And so I have decided to stop answering and liking and hearting comments in general until after I have completed Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. Now, while I remind people not to give any spoilers in the Rebirth series, and I was hoping to be able to answer those comments as well, I also got some spoilers in a comment on one of my playthrough videos. I don't think any of these were malicious by any means. I think they were accidental and people didn't realize they were spoiling or didn't think that they were spoiling. And of course, what you may or may not consider a spoiler is subjective, so I'm, just warning you guys, if I don't respond to your comment, it's not because I don't like you or that I don't think you had a good comment. It's just that I've got to block myself from these spoilers. So with that said, let's actually talk about Rebirth and what I'm thinking of it so far. So let's break these down into different categories. We'll start with story because Final Fantasy games are famous for their stories, and so far I am really enjoying it. Rebirth has an extremely strong first chapter, quite possibly one of the best first chapters in a Final Fantasy game in a long time. It continues to be interesting and raise questions throughout the rest of the chapters that I've played so far. I'm nearing the end of chapter 4, I believe, which is in Junon. And it's also has a lot of good character moments. So I think that leads into character development as well and characterization. But yeah, overall, I have thoroughly enjoyed the story, the main story, and I am enjoying the new twists that they are adding into it. Some of them I may not necessarily completely agree with. I may like what the original did better, and that's okay. But now let's move on to the characters themselves. These characters are so freaking lovable. Even if you disagree with them or you don't like the path that they're taking, you still love watching them take that path, and that's what I mean by lovable. But nevertheless, I still just think all these characters are lovable so far. Getting to see these extra little character development tidbits with Red and Barrett, seeing Aerith experiencing life outside of captivity for the first time is something that they really didn't get to heavily brush on in the OG, and they are absolutely leaning into that. Like every new place that they go to, Aerith is just amazed to see it and is learning these new social interactions that she would never have learned in the Shinra building. And also, there's some just amazing little mysteries that are popping up that I won't talk about in this video, but let me just say right now, I'm like mouth agape on the edge of my seat, like, what is going on here? This is something brand new. I don't know what is happening, but I want to learn more. And then when it comes to side quests, or let's put side quests and world building together because they almost go hand in hand. I'm loving the rich environment that they have created. They have absolutely built upon Final Fantasies 15, Final Fantasy 16 in creating a world that feels lived in and has a wide variety of people. And I would say that they have surpassed both of those games in creating these unique different settlements and cities, and it's just amazing to see and hear the culture that is going on in these different areas. Not only that, but they make the entire world feel lived in and in some cases abandoned. So this is something that the OG simply couldn't do, that they're absolutely mastering in Rebirth. I love seeing the small, settlement here or there, or, hey, there's a farm out here away from Calm. Of course, there's the Chocobo ranches and other things like that. People existing outside of the towns. And then you also see the remnants of civilizations that used to exist. And it's not like ancient civilizations. No, it's civilizations that existed like 20 or 30 years ago. You see the rubble of that. You see the aftermath of what has happened in this world because of Shinra. The side quests are fun and engaging, and once again, they absolutely build upon the world that you live in, and they also give you some character moments and some character development that you wouldn't get just from going through the main story. In fact, there are some segments that you'll see in my playthrough where I'm just absolutely loving what Barrett is telling me. I'm just like, dude, Barrett, I understand you. Like, I'm a dad too. I would feel the same way. I'm loving hearing Red 13 when he's in Junon, how the area is affecting him. Once again, I've talked about Aerith, and also seeing the relationships between all of these characters, especially between Cloud and Tifa. They have really shown this conflict that is going on between those two, and I'm loving seeing this. And this is also a part of some of the changes that they've added to it. The interactions that you get to have with these characters, the choices that you get to make in response to them, I look forward to playing this game a second time so that I can see how those different responses that I didn't choose on my first playthrough will change things. And then there's just the combat system as well. It builds upon the remake combat system, which was already highly acclaimed. And I've got to say that in terms of giving you options at the very beginning of a game, I would say Final Fantasy VII Rebirth may have actually gone overboard on it, whereas many other recent Final Fantasies kind of go underboard with not giving you enough variety in the very beginning of a game. Final Fantasy VII said, here's everything. Here's more things than you're going to remember. And it feels that way in combat, and it's really, I'm going to say that this is me personally. I felt like I was trying to do too many things in a single battle instead of just focusing on one thing. And one of those things is trying to use synergy abilities, which are the abilities that you need the little synergy tick marks to use, and that's between two characters. Synergy skills, on the other hand, the skills that you can use while you're guarding, were a little bit more intuitive, and yet I would still forget to use those. But I was trying to treat synergy abilities as though they were normal abilities, but they're really more like team limit breaks. So you shouldn't expect to be able to use synergy abilities in every single battle that you face, but when it comes to a particularly difficult battle, you can definitely rely on synergy abilities. And I absolutely love at a certain point in the game, whenever your main three characters are having trouble and they're like all at low HP, or maybe a couple of them have been KO'd, you can actually use someone who's not in your party to do a synergy ability with to help you turn the tide of battle. I thought that was an amazing touch because, once again, you can't change your party in the middle of battle, but they are on the outskirts sort of fighting alongside you, and then, once again, if you're failing, one of them's going to come in and be like, hey, let's do a team-up attack. You just got to make sure you know when that attack is available, because you could easily miss it. So once again, combat is absolutely incredible, so much to the point that it is actually overwhelming in the beginning, because you have, in Chapter 1, you've got two characters who you are learning for the first time, and then in Chapter 2, you keep one of those characters, Cloud, and then you add 4 more characters, all of whom start off with materia and at least 2 abilities that they can each use, and then add into that aerial combat and how some characters differ in their way of using aerial combat. In fact, Red 13 doesn't have aerial combat at all. And so that's something that when you learn it and you realize that Red 13's strength is on the ground, you can then mold your parties to it, and when you're in an area where you have a lot of flying enemies, like in Junon, you know, okay, I'm probably not going to use Red 13 that much. I'm going to rely more on maybe Barret and Aerith because they have long range attacks. So it's absolutely fun. It's incredible to get back into this world of Final Fantasy VII and to see this broader world that is outside of Midgar. Like here's how I feel doing the exploration and doing these side quests. I am literally torn between wanting to continue the main story and skipping side quests and then doing all the side quests, but then the main story's over here like, don't you want to do me? And then I look over here and the side quests are like, don't you want to do this? I love it. And in some situations I am going to perhaps not do all the side quests. I've already said this in my playthrough videos. I'm not here to 100% the game on my first go. I'm just here to enjoy the experience, do some of exploration and side quests, and then continue on to the main story so that when I play this again, and oh man, I'm going to play this again, I have more things to look forward to. Guys, this is Game of the Year. Oh, and then music. I'm just going to say that music is the new bar for every video game out there. And that's all I can say about the music. Like, Final Fantasy VII's music has raised the bar for all video game music, period. Well, that's what I think so far of Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. I hope that you guys enjoyed this and that you'll check out my playthroughs and that you'll like and subscribe to the FailroadExpress and even consider becoming a member, because that funding helps us to make better videos. Check you guys later.